Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on another beautiful sunshine, steamy, sunny. And I know we're in Florida. Um, it's I know it's probably 100 degrees by now. Most of us are like zapped, just the energy that, the extra heat. I'm not sure what's going on. We give thanks because, we can go from one extreme to another. So we give thanks to the Most High that it is a beautiful day and we drink lots of water and everything that we need to do to make life better. So welcome. Dr. Arlene, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful on this beautiful evening. It's not as warm right now. It's just beautiful and it's great to be on. I was in another Zoom meeting and I slept out and to see our wonderful men, amen, and hear what
Thank
they
you.
have to share with us. So I'm truly glad you're here, Donna. And
Thank you. So I know we were waiting for Louis from Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network. So we'll give him a few seconds and I'm sharing to the different pages so people can know that we're on. So we are on Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network. We are on Caribbean Diaspora Vibes and Caribbean American Diaspora. And I'm also going to be on my page so that people can see that we are on. All right, wonderful. So I'm sure Louis will jump on when he has a chance. If not, we're going to hold it down.
yeah,
So welcome back, everyone. My name is Donna Morton, and I am the president of Women of Culture Incorporated, president of Caribbean American Diaspora Alliance, real estate broker, and mindset coach at Inner Vibes Consultant. And, we had an amazing month talking to men. It was it was so good to hear all the different, we got tips. Oh, there's Louis jumping on. We
yeah.
got tips early on in the month from men. Hey Louis, how are you? You're muted. There you go.
How are you guys,
Hello,
everybody?
Mr. Lewis.
We're
Good to
good.
see,
We're
good to
wonderful.
see you
Well,
all.
before I finish with my story, go ahead and do your station ID, Louis.
Yeah, 1 second, 1 second. All right. Okay. All right. And a pleasant good evening to you and welcome to Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network. My name is Louis Witter. It's 5 minutes after 7 on this beautiful Tuesday. It's around 91 degrees in Kissimmee, Central Florida. A beautiful weather. The sun is still shining, Donna.
Yes.
So we want to take the time to welcome everybody to Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. This is another edition this Tuesday. Welcome everybody.
Blessings. We were just talking about the weather, the extra hot. It's 90 something, but it feels probably like 100.
Yes, for
So
real.
be careful out there also, right? And hydrate. Take your electrolytes. I realize that electrolytes are really important to add to your water. All these different things. Even walking, Louis, do you know that we see dogs now wearing protectors with foot?
Yeah. It's all good.
I was so shocked. I stopped. This man was putting on little booties on
Yeah,
his dogs.
is that so?
I'm like, wow, we've come a long way in
A
the
lot of the dogs have been treated better than our kids nowadays,
Yes.
right? That's isn't that crazy?
yes. If we were in the Caribbean, that man would get cussed out though for real because
Right, and probably stoned too.
yeah,
Oh
wow.
my goodness.
Yeah,
Well, this
man.
is the world that we're in.
So starting off, we were saying early, we got such wonderful input from different perspective of men all month. We started out with
Yes.
men telling us why they need man caves, that sometimes they need just that space in their home, a safe space. to hang out, to watch their games, read whatever, invite some friends over. For women, we usually will like do girls' time, nails, all these
Go
different
shopping
things.
and go
Yes, or
shopping, right?
shopping. And
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
yeah, and so it was good to just hear the feedback that they sometimes they need a space to when they come home to just relax and, and they're home, right? They're not at the bars, they're not out, they're home. So we've had wonderful, wonderful tips financially, mentally, all these different things. And now we get to hear from Chaplain. We get a different and actually we did get Pastor Alexis last week. So
Yes,
we've
yes.
been I love it. I love to because I was gonna take a break in June and
Yeah.
then I said, but wait, I can't take a break in June because this
Man.
month is important to hear from the men. And
Amen to
I am
that. And
I'm
we
thankful.
also, yeah, we also heard from a couple of gentlemen. The first one, I think, that really brought up some good ideas and some good tips, Donna. We were talking about, men speaking the truth, mental health, men not, and not being credible, being, even in business, when
Mhm,
people don't follow through with things that they're doing. But it's not that they do it one time.
mhm.
They continuously do it in business. They do bad business. They rip people off. All these things are part of mental health for us as men
Yeah.
and
So
women too.
we definitely appreciate you all.
Yep.
And it's been the whole month just men, no women guests. So
Good.
we're proud of that. We're proud of that. So we want to introduce two amazing guests tonight. We've got Chaplain Felice. He's been on before. He was on last year. We've done a
Yes.
couple
Yes.
shows with him. And then we also have,
Welcome back, my brother.
and Chaplain
Thank you.
Felice is from, is it, am I pronouncing that correctly? Felice?
Feliz. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Feliz, like Feliz Navidad.
Because I almost
Mhm.
want to call you Felix. So
I've heard so many variations, I don't even get shocked anymore.
all right, good. And so heritage from Haiti, but we have to add in St. Lucia because his wife family is from St. Lucia. So I know she's probably listening. If we don't mention St. Lucia, he's gonna get it. So so we have to
Thank
big
you.
up
Thank you.
the
Welcome, my brother.
heritage. And then we've got Warren, Mr. Bowtie Feaster. And we're gonna hear his story too, and even where he got the name. And he's representing the U.S., right? Big
Awesome.
ups
Big up. Big up.
USA.
Big up. Yes.
All
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man.
right.
Gotta have the Judah from the tribe of Judah in the house, my brother. Welcome.
Yeah, so we definitely want to get tips from you gentlemen. We're gonna start off with Chaplain Felisa as far as what you want to share to men listening out there, whatever your scope of expertise, of knowledge and wisdom is, you get to just give us some tips and we'll just chat and then we'll hear Warren's tips or ideas and it could be on mental health, physical health, financial, spiritual, whatever it is area that you want to touch base on. We're open. All right. So welcome, Chaplain.
Okay, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love what y'all do. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this vision and this ministry. I'm glad to see my brother Warren on here. I've known him for several years. We've done a few events together, and we've kept in touch here and there. He has awesome work, awesome resources. Y'all should definitely check out. And today, what I want to talk about, I wrote something, and I don't want to go through it verbatim, but I definitely feel led to go through some points of what I've written, and it's in regards to mental health, right? And the title of it is "The Power of Brotherhood: Why Men Need Each Other to Stay Whole," right? And before we
Mm.
get really too deep, here's what I really want to ask the men here: Who do you vent to when life gets too heavy for you to carry alone? Like, Who do you vent to when life gets too hairy to carry, too heavy to carry alone? Now, I asked that question. I really want the men to really think about that, right? Because let's look at what society is telling us, right? And we've all heard this before. What are you crying for? Be a man. Oh,
Mm,
stop being a little boy. Why you being a little girl? Why you acting like a little girl? Why you talking all these feelings? Like we hear from our spouses or we hear from women that we should share our feelings. And when we share our feelings, then it's the same feelings that gets them to think that we're not masculine, we're not strong, we're not the protector. So now if you grow up like that as men, what happens? We bottle it up. Let me ask you a question, and this is for everybody. If I have, let's pretend this is a can of soda. I should have got a can of soda, but let's say this is a can of soda, and I shake it up, and I shake it up, and I shake it up, and I shake it up. What do you think's gonna happen when I open that can of soda?
Load.
Exactly. So we're taught as men to hold this stuff in. We can't express when we're tired, when we're lonely, when we're depressed, when we're hurting, when we're in pain, because we got to be Superman. We got to be the best husband, and that requires a million things. We got to be the best father. That requires a million things. We got to provide because a man does what? They provide. So that requires a million things. But where do we go when we need to vent? And what happens when we do not vent? We're the soda. Eventually, eventually it explodes. And unfortunately, I know this as a professional family and marriage therapist, a lot of times that explosion is not healthy. I've never heard of a healthy explosion, have y'all? Like, oh, this person exploded healthily. It was great that they exploded. I've never heard that. Explosion already comes with the idea of it being negative. Let me just share some boring stats. Some people may find it exciting, right? 77% of men experience some level of stress-related health issues, but only 40% will seek help. 77. So that means for every 10 men that you know, 7 of them experience mental health, and then only maybe 3 or 4 of them were reported. Now, me and my brother Warren here both served in the military, so he knows where I'm going with this. He know when you're in the military, there is suck it up, buttercup. I was on the ship where we was in the yards, and what that means is our ship was about to get decommissioned. Right? I was in the Navy. So what that means is the ship will be put into some, let's call it like a mechanic shop, if you don't have a reference point. And in this mechanic shop, all types of stuff are going wrong. People are getting injured all the time. You have contractors, you have dust, you have darkness. To get onto the ship alone was 100 steps, 100 ladders, so to speak, just to get onto the ship. Not to mention how many ladders and stuff that's on the ship. When I got injured, when I injured my knee, I was still expected to climb those 100 stairs and the 100 stairs inside the ship for 6 or 7 months before I was finally limping to work, to where they decided, hey, something must be wrong with him. Later on, MRI, X-ray revealed that I had a chipped floating bone that was just destroying my knee. Till this day, the bone is still there.
mm.
But hey, suck it up, Buttercup. Right? Suck it up, Buttercup. So now, 77% of men, 1 in 4 men say they have no one to talk to when they feel overwhelmed. Men are 4 times, cuatro, if you speak Spanish. You know, my Spanish is really good. But cuatro, men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. Among entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur trying to create a generational wealth or provide for your family, especially in this economy, 72% report mental health concerns, but most of them cope in silence. According to American Psychological Association, which is a good resource for clinical things done research by professionals, men are less likely to recognize or discuss symptoms of depression, often masking it as fatigue, anger, or irritability. And here's the sad truth. If silence could heal men, most men would be healed already. And counselors and therapists and coaches and mentors and pastors would be out of a job in a way, right? Now, here's the truth. Most men are often performing while they're bleeding. We have to be Superman at work because we can't be little boys or babies. We have to be a coach at home. We have to be a pastor to our friends. And we're often alone in this cave. Even if we have this man cave, we're often alone facing our deepest pain. And clinically speaking, we call that emotional suppression, right? Which leads to more stress, increased risk of heart disease, insomnia, burnout, and unfortunately, a lot of substance abuse. I had the privilege and honor at working for a company where I would see 50 to 75 people every month that were addicted to cocaine, crack, you name it, fentanyl, you name it. And every month I seen 50 to 75 people twice. So that's 75 times two. Let's see, carry the one. You do the math. I'm not good at math. But yeah, get the point. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would see these people and I would always, like in the beginning, I would always share my story growing up as an orphan. And I would always want to hear their story because that was a way to kind of bridge the gap. Because think about it, their substance abuse, we're going into personal stuff. I got to do their drug report every time they come in. We got to counsel and figure out how to. Now you would think that a lot of these people that were on fentanyl or cocaine or crack or just they're just bums. Oh my God, you shouldn't do that. Or you should do this, or you should just get saved, and you shouldn't have to deal with this. Well, if you hear their story, maybe that would change some of your perceptions, but because many of them were dealing with pain that they did not know how to get through. You know how many clients that I had at that time who, as a child, saw their mother get their brains blown out by their father in front of them, and then their father would kill themselves in front of them? Can you imagine having to grow up with that as a child? What do you do with that? Right? Some people get fired from a job and are depressed for 6 months to a year. Some
Yeah.
people lose a breakup, right? They're in a relationship and they break up, and now, oh my God, their life is over. Some people lose their favorite car. Some people are overweight, and oh my God, that's the worst thing in the world. Now, while I'm not saying that all these things should happen to anybody, what I am saying is you have these people who are addicted to substance abuse who watch the person that was meant to care and provide for them die in such a tragic way to now they're alone with the memories and pain with nowhere to vent. So, what ends up happening? Some people, you have people to talk to. Some people, maybe you have a career that you can mask your pain behind. Some people have a circle or a community. Some people have nobody. So what ends up being the way that they deal with the pain? Anything that gives them pleasure. And oftentimes drugs is the immediate pleasure to deal with the pain. So I want you to keep that in mind, man, when you don't have the power of community, where that can lead into, because I seen this firsthand, firsthand. Not to mention, the real shocker is when I said these people are on these substance abuses, cocaine, fentanyl and all this stuff, maybe perhaps an image of someone that was in homely clothes, bum, vagabond, maybe dreadlocks, maybe their face is not shaved. Maybe that's what came to your mind. You know how many of those people were rich people? You know how many of those people were people that were making $15,000, $20,000 a week, having successful businesses ahead of these corporations? You know how many people that were in ministry, Christian ministry, that I've seen
Mm-hmm.
and that substance abuse place? Can you imagine how heavy the load is for a pastor that has to care for the flock? And we all know, Christian folks, I love y'all. We're not always the best.
Mm-mm.
We're not always the best. Some of the worst sinners are in church. So now you
Amen.
have a pastor here who's ahead of all these sinners. And guess what? No matter what you do, you never do enough. Can anybody say Jesus? They
Jesus.
didn't like Jesus. Can you imagine that? They didn't like Jesus. Jesus wasn't good enough for these people. So here I am, a sinner, and this saved by grace. But here I am, a sinner in this broken vessel, and I'm expected to please people as a pastor, and they have no one to vent to. Why is that? Because if they vent and say they're going through some of the same problems, maybe not at the same stage of maturity that this person is in, I would hope if you're in a pastor position, but they're going through the same trials and tribulations. Now they can't speak to anyone because if they speak to someone, oh, what kind of pastor is that that's going through the same sin that I'm going through and I'm working through? Well, he can't be no pastor. So what do they end up doing now? Now they have to carry this facade of perfection. Oh, I've got it together and Lord has saved me. I no longer do this or do that. I would hope that on our Christian walk, there's certain things we grow from, right? We no longer desire the things that a child desires. But does that mean that we're absence of all sin and imperfection in our walk? Is that possible? So what kind of unrealistic expectation does a pastor have to face? And that's just one role. Can we talk about the role of a husband? Can we talk about the role of a father? How about the role of a leader, a business owner, a friend, a brother, a sister? All these roles, and I'm not saying ladies, because I must say it at least once before I get attacked. I always get attacked when I'm only focusing on men. I'm not saying that y'all don't have it hard, because men could be horrible. I'm one example of it. I can be horrible. My wife is great. She has grace and patience to allow God the time he needs to work through me so she could benefit from it. Praise my wife. I love you, baby. 15 years later, I love my baby. If we don't work out, I told her I'm sleeping on her new husband's couch. That's what we just gonna be 3 people married. That's just what it's gonna be. I love you, baby. I'm not saying that women don't have anything to go through, but what I will say is I believe there are more resources and more community than women than there are for men. Because when men reach out to me, when either through our resources, our blog, videos, workshops that we do, or in our private practice, when I see people, when men talk about this, what we see is there's a lot of community of women that get together and say, men are not nothing. Men need to do this. Men need to, men's, I don't see a lot of community where women are holding each other accountable for, you know what? We need to do better as wives. We need to do this. We need to stop doing, that's not, I'm not saying it's not out there, but I'm saying it's not as consistent as what we see on the other side of men being held accountable. Men need to do this. And we do, but where do we get to vent? Where do we get to vent about our frustrations about a wife? We talk about good leaders and bad leaders. Do we talk about good followers and bad followers as much? Is that a conversation that we have? Right? We talk about good husbands and bad husbands. Do we talk about where areas wives could be better? Right? Without somehow, some way going back to the man. That's what men have to deal with. So now we can't talk to our wives. We don't have communities to deal with. So we end up keeping it in, and then explosion. Explosion through suicide, explosion to drug addiction, explosion to solitude, explosion to, here's where it comes. Emotional disconnection in the marriage. Why? Why does that happen? A lot of reasons. Some is on us, but a lot of times because we have no way to get it out without somehow we being blamed for what we're feeling. We being blamed for what we're going through. Why can't it just be that I'm feeling this and things around me are not helping me feel better, and I need to express this without somehow I'm the cause of what I'm feeling? Am I the cause sometime? Are men the cause sometimes? Absolutely. Are we the cause 100% of the time? When I read my Bible, when I read the source of my truth, what I hear is all have fallen short of the glory of God. All means men and women.
Good.
That's what I think about all. Men and women. But how come in society right now do men only hear that we're the majority of the problem, and if we did this or stop doing that, or if we did that and stop doing this, then women would be this, or our workers would be this, or society would be this? Why isn't it that we can vent and say, you know what, we need to do better for you, men? Who do we vent to? Who do we vent to?
You stay in the man cave.
Now, the man cave is a fabrication of the healing. The man cave is where we go to escape the light of truth, the light of progression, the light of accountability. And it's, if the man cave is a metaphor for a community, then that's my next point. Men, we need a community more than ever before. We need a community. And women, if you want to support your men, be positive about that man's community. Be positive about it. Could be bowling. It could be cutting grass. It could be video games. It could be him just going out to eat at a restaurant and ordering a steak and a pork chop. Hey, are you waiting for anybody? No, I'm just eating the steak and the pork chop by myself. Why'd you ask me if I'm waiting for someone? I want both entrees at the same time. I actually did that, y'all, when I got a boot camp in the military. I went and got a steak and a pork chop at the same time. Someone asked me, are you waiting for somebody? No, why'd you ask? I want a steak and I want a pork chop. So my point is, men, please, if you do nothing else, stop holding stuff in. Stop holding stuff in. And let me give you a powerful reason why. If I haven't driven the point home already, let me give you a powerful reason why. There's a guy, a professional by the name of Dr. Vanderkolk. He wrote this book called A Body Keeps the Score. A Body Keeps the Score. Right? Mr. Warren is nodding his head because he knows he probably read that in his grad school. I think it's in everybody's grad school of mental health right now. For everybody that doesn't know, Dr. Vanderkolk is a leading trauma expert, probably the best in the world right now. He's probably the Jordan of trauma expert in the world right now. Everybody remember 9/11? You know
Mm-hmm.
how tragic that was? A lot of people are thinking about the deaths, and God bless the deaths. A lot of people don't think about the other side. And the other side is the people, the families, the friends that were affected by the deaths that are still living and the trauma that they had to deal with. Do you know they only brought in one guy to deal with all that? And that was
Mm-hmm.
him. He held it a team, but essentially they brought in one guy to be in charge of a team that he handpicked and he organized. Why you say that, Felice? Well, that's how powerful he was. And you know what he says is the number one way to deal with trauma? And if you're Caribbean, you're doing the opposite. Because this is what we're taught as Caribbean. You don't tell people your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mental health, that's for crazy people.
Yes.
Right. So we keep it inside. That's the opposite of what he recommends. There's a study done that nobody in the field disagree with right now, and the study was done, and they put a machine on someone's brain, and they put another machine on someone's brain, and they did a long study, and they said from just talking about your trauma, the same trauma that we grow up with holding, maybe it's rape,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's you've been abused by your parents in some way. Maybe there's some type of violence that you experienced. All this trauma that we hold in that we think by not telling anybody that we're dealing with is
Mm-hmm.
also causing cancer statistically,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
stress statistically, leading to suicide statistically. You know the number one cure for that from the world's leading trauma expert. Talk about it.
Yeah. Release.
From that, and the last thing I'll say from the act of just talking about it. Here's God, man. God, boy, is something. Brains are healing each other.
Mm-hmm.
They can't explain how or why, but from the act of talking about it and releasing it, your brains are healing each other. Now, of course, that's assuming that the person you're talking about is not going through the same trauma. It's probably skilled or experienced or trained. But just the act of talking about it, whether it's with someone trained or not, is releasing that trauma. And if you disbelieve that and you don't agree with none of the facts or anything I said, let me ask you, how has keeping it in worked for you?
Right.
My name's Felice, and thank you for
Felice,
having me.
I'm glad that you talked about that.
Oh,
Women, we have a lot of um get-togethers. We have like release parties, and it's for these reasons. So I think we do that more than men. We're always having release parties, gratitude parties, things like that, where we get together and we cry. I actually host, I call it slay parties, and I invite, the ladies to write down what trauma, if they don't want to speak on it, and we burn it, and so it's not left around for anyone else to see, but it's all about getting that negative energy from within us and getting it out. So there is a spiritual law. We don't understand how it works, but it releases because, yes, our Caribbean people, especially, we hold on to, for years, 30, 40 years, we hold on to grudges. We're not talking to this person, that person. And then we're wondering why the stats with all these different sicknesses is happening. We're holding on to all these negative emotions that it's affecting us, mind, body, heart, and soul, all across the board. So I would love to see more men release parties. Maybe not call them, do another name because men are, you're probably not going to cry and do all that kind of stuff, but at least write it down, release it, and someone like you can guide that because it's needed. And I think that's why we live longer as women because we are doing all these techniques. And these are actually ancient African spirituality techniques that our ancestors did way back in the day. They understood that holding on to energy of unforgiveness. The Bible tells us about unforgiveness, guarding our hearts, right? From all these things because it carries penalties. And we're just now understanding how stress and sicknesses and all these things are associated with pent up memories of traumas, etc. So I love that. I hope to see more men, if you carving or leading the way or making space more for that movement so that you guys do it because we're already in that space. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Louis, any comments while we
Yeah, I want to commend Brother Chaplain for such a good outline.
Yes.
All true. Very, very, very good point. And I can see that we have a lot of work to be done as men. But I want to take us back to when I was growing up, and I say we because most of us here as men, we are probably on the same age. But I grew up in the country with my grandfather. And all these men back then, God bless his soul, he was a farmer. And I used to be part of that every morning. I used to get up and do my thing with him as a boy and gone to the farm when I'm not in school. But one of the things that I notice with men and also women, but men back then, they speak to themselves. When they're on the farm, they are digging, they are plowing, they are slap chopping, they are axing, and they are talking to themselves. They're not, let me repeat that. Let me rephrase that. They're not talking to themselves. They're talking to the inner man. That's who they were talking to. We think it was themselves, but they were encouraged. You see, we were the men, we were the nation that was born and set up to do farming. That's our thing. We got away from it over the years. But the land is us. Remember, God up there in heaven or sit on the throne, but he gave us as men, he gave us earth and he gave us the dominion on earth. The earth is a live thing. So if you're farming and talking to the soil, to the earth that you come from, that God gave you, you must get in some form of interaction. You must get in some form of healing. Because if your hand is in the soil, if your foot is in the soil, if your body is getting the sun, we are perfectly where we are. That's where we should be. And those men didn't go to the doctor. They didn't have these issues that my brother talking about. We didn't have we probably have diabetes, but they didn't even care about those things because they were naturally healing themselves, speaking to the inner man, and recognize that there was something out there to guide them and help them to heal and to go home with the right food or whatever they were providing. So fast forward to us, we generation. You hear somebody talk to themselves, you say, oh, you're mad, you fool, why you talk to yourself for? So we chop down those things over the year, and all of those things have been watered out. That we don't even talk to ourselves, even when we're in the man cave, because we don't want our wife to think we're mad outside. Why am I doing inside a talk to himself? But this is the things that we need to go back to. We need to wake up, men. Men, we need to wake up 5, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, even when we're not going to work, and find a reason to go outside and talk to the tree, the dirt, the earth, and everything that's outside. And bring your wife too. Bring your wife with you. Yeah. And watch how diabetes disappear, heart problem disappear, foot problem and ache and everything. We have to go back to where our grandfather left off. Because we generation, we chop down one another. We don't even allow each other to speak a verse. Oh, you're a pastor now. Where you get that from? Don't talk to me if you're not a pastor, if you're not go to church. We chop everything down. So yes, my brother, we need to go back into a community. But the community that we need to go back to is to get these knowledge back and encourage one another to live this way. This is the way we're supposed to live.
We moved away from
Oh,
nature.
yep.
And what you were describing, Louis, is really grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And now now you can buy sheets and all these expensive stuff if you lay on to get grounding, or you can go outside and you can walk in the dirt, climb trees. We grew up climbing trees, and the one of the reasons why our young children are so sick because they are no longer with nature. They don't
No.
play outside like we used to. They don't climb trees. They don't walk in the dirt and touch on trees. They just go home, they're in their rooms on iPods and things like that. So they have removed, so the more we remove from nature is the more penalties. I like to call them penalties that will show
Mm.
up because we are
Yeah.
moving away from God,
Yeah.
you know?
That
So
is natural, and everything that
yeah,
nature is God. So
yeah,
that's where we need to get back. But great discussion, guys.
yeah. Mr. Bowtie.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm able to come behind two great prolific speakers that I just heard about. But I'll try. It's interesting that Felice came and talked about the power of brotherhood. Him and I are both in the relationship business, so it was no surprise that when he started talking about the power of brotherhood, I was like, of course, we are in line because I want to talk about relationships are important.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships are important. And I really want to focus in on that because what we've said a lot today is a lot of men will take on everything and hold everything to ourselves. But if relationships are important, then that will tell you that we were not designed to be alone, to be solo. That's why relationships are important. One of the biggest relationships that I like to talk about is marriage. I've really focused on marriage. And that's that relationship right there is, for us men, those of us that are married, it is critical. It is the one that we should spend all our time focused on. I
Mm-hmm.
was watching a comedy show. I don't know if y'all watch Ali Shadiq, but he was talking, no, it was another guy, I can't think his name, but he was talking about how he's trying to get his business and the guy was like, you need to be on social media. You got to find the hit times and this time and that time. You got to do this, you got to do that. And the man looked at him and he said, do you know all that about your wife? A lot of times what we do as men, and I'm
Yeah.
raising my hand first, so make sure y'all know I'm raising my hand first. We find the mission, we find the objective, we find the target, and that's what we focus on. We're predators by nature. We're protectors by nature. So what we want to do is find the threat, find the enemy, find the area to protect. And what we've done in a lot of cases is we've left our spouse, we've left our family. We substitute raising our family for taking care of our family. We substituted, sitting down and talking to your son, talking to your daughter, talking to your wife for I have homework to do. I got to go to this business meeting. I got to go on this trip. At the end of the day, if relationships are important, and I'm talking to men who are married, then your wife should be the most important relationship. A moment of honesty, I realized I had my own show a couple of years ago, and I had one of my supervisors on there, and both of us was hard charging non-commissioned officers. And there was a moment in the show where both of us really got depressed for about a good second because she said, I realized I gave up my family for the military more than I thought, expected, or wanted to.
Mhm.
Both of us are now retired. The military sends me a check at the end of the month, and that's it. All the stuff that I did in the military, I left there in the military for the next person to come and take on. But my wife, my son, my daughter,
Mm.
I'm picking up the pieces and trying
Yes.
to build and rebuild the most. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I did my best, and I did it. I tried very hard to focus on my family. But Felice, you know, and everybody else that's military, you know, no matter how hard you focus on your family, the mission is first. And so no matter how hard we try, we always neglect our family. And so now here I am picking up the pieces. There's an old African proverb that we've said for many, 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 many years, and I've been using it for years. It takes a village to raise a child. And I've been using that, and I've replaced the word child, depending on where I am, for whatever we're talking about. So tonight, I want to say it takes a village to raise a man. It takes. I did a couple of posts on Facebook a couple of years ago, and the one question that I asked, and I still ask, how do we teach our children the value of the village and how to build the village? And I did that. I really focused on teaching that to, you know, my children. Do you understand the value of a village? You cannot and you will not do this by yourself. Men, we cannot and we will not be able to do it by ourselves. So Felice gave all the stats, so I don't have to give them. You know, I can just talk. He gave all the stats. But can I just talk to the men? Can I just talk to the men that's listening?
Yes.
The individual man that's listening. You know that it's not working by yourself. You know that you need help. Here's the problem. We got to be vulnerable. We have to open up. And if I'm the protector, that means I got to hold everything in. I have to hold everything in. I have to be strong. I have to be ready and willing to fight at a moment's notice. But I also have to find somebody to open up to. Me and my best friend have been friends since my third unit in the military, since 1999. And we have opened up and talked about things that only I can talk to him about. A lot of people that are married say, a lot of men that are married say, my wife is my best friend. And I commend you for that. But I challenge you to have a male best friend. And the reason why I challenge you to have a male best friend, I'm over 50. I know I don't look like it, but I'm over 50. And so I'm thinking about a lot of, you know, medical problems that are coming up. Prostate cancer. I can talk to my wife all day about it, but she has never experienced any part of what it feels like to have prostate cancer.
Right.
I mean, it's the reverse for women, but I'm just talking to men right now.
Yes.
So when I want to deal with the problems that I'm having down south, I want a man to know, you know, those of us in the military, there are some things that we want to talk about, but we don't want to explain.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you about my deployments, but if I got to stop every 3 minutes, and, oh, what's an IED? Oh, what's a Humvee? Oh, what's a flag vest? Oh, what is flagging? Oh, what is this? I'm done talking. And so as a man, there are some things that we need another man to talk about because we don't want to explain it. We don't have to go into detail. We have to be vulnerable. But that friend must be a secure foundation. And this is where a lot of men struggle, trying to find their secure foundation. To be honest, you have to be willing to be hurt. And men don't want to do that. Men do not want to do that. But how else are you going to find that best friend? How else are you going to know that man is going to hold on and be there for you if y'all don't get mad at each other? Me and my friend have been friends for over 30 years. And recently I got so mad at him. The first time, it took 30 years. Finally got mad at him. You know? And we got over it. But we had to talk through it.
Through it, yes, yes.
I knew and I know that he's a secure foundation.
Yes.
So I was able to be vulnerable with him. If we talk about best friends, the Bible even talks about best friend. David, King David, and all the accolades that we know him to have had Jonathan. And they were so close in friendship. So the Bible even speaks of men having best friends. I don't know where I heard this from, but I think it's an African tribe that whenever the men would go out to fight and they would come back, first there was a celebration. We see the dancing all the time on different videos and everything. There was a celebration when they would receive back into the village. And the women would dance and there would be food and the children would dance and all of this going on to welcome them back in. But there's a part that we don't see that often that a lot of villages do. There's a moment, a time of decompression where that man goes away and he deals with everything that he's had to deal with when he was out there fighting. And then he comes back to the village. One of the problems we have in the military right now, and I'm retired, so I say I'm still in because I loved it, but I am retired. One of the problems that we have with the military and service members, and I can speak primarily about the Army because that's the one I was in, is I'm in Iraq today. I'm on a plane tomorrow. I'm back in Florida the day after that. I go on 30-day vacation, and then I'm back at work. And those 30 days, we say they're decompression, but I got to reconnect with my family. I got housework I got to do. I got to get my car. I got to get all this stuff, bills and finance. So we really don't have time to decompress. World War II, they had the ship that took about 2 months and they were able to decompress. Now we have a 15 to 18-hour flight to decompress. And so when we get back, we're trying to find a way to decompress. Sadly, it leads to drugs, it leads to spousal abuse, it leads to alienation, and all the other, homicide, suicide, all the other bad statistics that we hear about PTSD. Because we as men, we hold it in. We don't have a best friend that we can talk to and be vulnerable with. Once we get and understand that relationships are important, that's the change. Thank you for listening.
Wow, thank you so much. I have been writing in my blogs about our role as women because I love when you talked about how the women, you see the celebration when the men leave and the women are just welcoming them back. And, I think as women, we've lost that peace. And now it's just like, oh, he's gone. We don't even care if he's back. That we've taken on that. And so we have to learn. I always say men are physical protectors and women are spiritual protectors. And our role is to bless that man. You bless yourself, yes, you bless your children, but do some special routine with blessing the man, blessing his health, his wealth, his happiness, blessing his mind, his body, his heart, his soul, his past, his present, his future. And I think if women took on a little bit more time to add that piece to our day, we will see a transformation in relationships and marriages. I don't want to say but I'm married. If I see my husband is acting a little way, I just would be like, oh.
Yes.
Lo and behold, because we are speaking life over them. We as women are very special. We are womb. We bring, human beings from the unseen to the seen realm. So our powers are really, really extra. And so the thing is, we have to learn to speak life over the man, over the man that the future man, saying there's no good man out there. There's no this, but if that's what you believe, that's what's going to come to you. So we have to learn to speak life over future relationships, bless it. And then the ones that we are in, bless that relationship. Be excited, just like our ancient ancestors that would do that whole celebration when the men comes back home. And because then he'll feel that energy.
Yes.
So that's the thing. He'll sense that energy like, wow, she's excited that I'm home, I'm back, and I feel like a king. And I think we've lost that.
Yes, that is true.
So women, that's our role, is I would love to do a retreat where it's just women blessing their partners, husbands, whatever, and understanding that spiritual power and of protection, that we can uplift that man and put him up on a higher pedestal, and in return, the blessings come back to us. But I don't
Absolutely.
think we understand that spiritual level. We've lost a lot of things and from our ancestors, and
And
that's
let me
one of them.
let me come in and just put the icing on that cake, Donna. And I want to thank Brother Bo, Mr. Bo, Dr. Bo. I want to call it Dr. Bo, man. Thank you for getting into that direction with the women, because you are absolutely right. The Bible said before the beginning, she was there. Who was he talking about? Who was the creator talking about? She was a woman. Wisdom.
Mhm.
Wisdom was there before anything. While God was creating the earth, she was there. She is wisdom. But we men have to treat her as such. We have to realize the person, and not all women now are within that realm. Not that all women can be praised, but there are women that a lot of us get are great women, good women, but we don't allow them to speak that blessing in our life. We back off because we say, hey, me not explain nothing, because as brother said, hey, we don't want to explain too much. And that's how we make up. That's our makeup. We men, we don't want to explain nothing too much. We will say, yes, no problem. This is how it is. I will fix it. I don't have to explain how I fix it. But the women want to know, how did you fix it? And it's not because, but we men get it misunderstand. It's not because she is trying to be inquisitive or trying to nag you. Guess what? There are women, they want to know how you fix that, because if you're not here, if you're gone overseas on that trip, my brother, that woman want to know how to fix that thing that you fix. But we men, sometimes we get ignorant and we back off the wife and say, leave me alone and this. And I am also, if my wife is listening, she know I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that. Hands up. Yes, sir. But we need to take a second look on ourselves as men and know that the women that God bless us with, because it's when you find a good woman, he is very happy. He's pleased. There's nothing else in the Bible that God said he's pleased about more than when you find a good woman. So we have to recognize the people and share things with them and allow them to do their things. Yes, we are the security people, and that's why most women do much better financially, and we say they are spiritually than men because of their makeup. But we are makeup to do things and secure. So we have to understand the difference between us and the woman. And as long as we are ignorant of that, we will have problem and we will not get the blessing that they're supposed to be breathing on us at night. They're supposed to be breathing blessing every day, every night on us. And we just get up and strong. We
Yes.
just get up and bloat with that spirit. Because when that woman finish, if you have a good woman and she do what she needs to do, we don't want nothing. We don't need a nothing.
Yeah.
And they will even go out and punch a boy down for you. Punch him in the face. Don't take it, don't deal with this is
Yeah.
our woman makeup. But we need to study that. We need to understand that. We need to go back to the Bible and understand the importance, what this woman is in my life. And before I go, read, all men, read Jeremiah 22, verse 20. Or if I miss it, read 20, verse 22. And it will say to you that a woman compass a man. Serious business. If God said a woman in the last days, a woman compass a man, that means God have given her all the knowledge and the juice and everything to make sure that we stay great as a man and as a family.
Amen. It's 7:56, so we have to do last thoughts. I know Louis has to jump off in like 2 minutes. So we'll go with Dr. Arlene, feedback.
I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much, Chaplain Felice, bringing us the symptomology and also, some interventions. And Dr. Bo, thank you so much for infusing the spirituality into this. It cannot be left out. We are psychosocial spiritual beings. And a lot of times, we sometimes leave that part out, but it's so important. And I just like the part that you brought in. And most of the time, it was when David went out. The other people went out, but they came back with the singing. And yes, why is our song silent? And Donna, what the blessing. It's so important. And Louis using sister mother wisdom.
Amen.
Yes. It's so important. So I just hope all those men, and it's not only good for the men, because I need to understand this better myself so that I become a better wife, supporter, encourager, blesser, the
Yeah.
model for the next generation. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you again, Donna. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. I think we all need to know our roles, and so we work with each other and not against. We need to understand our differences and how we blend them together. Because right now we're doing a lot of fighting against each other, and so we're drifting. Last words, Chaplain Felice.
Find a community, man. Find a community. There are a whole bunch of online communities nowadays, thanks to COVID. That's where the explosion happened.
Hmm.
I guess that's a good explosion right there. COVID led to a whole lot of online groups. Find a community, find a best friend. I know going through the trust stages and finding someone that, will keep our secrets and our pains hidden from the mouths of gossipers is challenging. I know nobody likes the process, but find a community, whether it's a basketball community, a sports community, a hobby community, even if it's a movie watching community. Find a community of men that have the same interests that you have naturally, and join that community and build these relationships and have someone to talk to. Women are kicking our butt with the communities, man. We need
Hmm.
to
Yes, we
Hmm.
are. We are.
kick our butt, and thank God for their example and their model. Thank
Amen.
you.
Amen. Mr. Bowtie.
My company motto is the center of everything is family because everything revolves around family. Now, the definition of family may have changed and may be morphing right now, which is not, but at the end of the day, we need a family. And I'll say this again, it takes a village to raise a child. So we have to build our village. And everybody in the village ain't liked. There are different aspects, different things in the village, a carpenter, electrician, a plumber. So you have to build your village. And that's how we'll deal with all the things that the men are going through. Thank you very much.
Amen. Amen. Louis.
Yeah, I like the idea of building the village. Again, I go back to growing up as a young man. Every man in that village that I grew up with in Nonsuch, Portland, a little district in Portland, every man have a responsibility. There was a carpenter, a butcher, several carpenter, a butcher. But I mean, there was not a man in that village that don't have a career, as we call it today.
Mhm.
We don't see that. Everybody is doing their own little thing or hanging out on the corner or doing whatever they want to do. Yes, we need to get back to a village where we can talk to one another as men. We can solve issues as men. We can work and network together as men in an honest way. Honest way, because one of the things that we talked about the last time was that a lot of us men, we are not honest. We are crooked in the way we do business, the way we do things. And because of that, it creates problems men don't want to deal with because there's no trust. And so anytime we find out, yes, we should eliminate, and that shouldn't stop us from forming that village. But if you find that individual in that, just like how back in Moses' days, when you kill somebody, you have a village, or if you do something wrong, you have a place that they send you to stay by yourself because you're unclean. We need to do that today. If you're not honest, we can't deal with you. If you're not where you need to be in terms of integrity, we can't deal with you. And we must speak and let people know, embarrass them, shame them. Because if they don't be embarrassed and shamed, they will continue to do the same madness and messed up, and we will never have honesty amongst ourselves. We'll always have distrust. And that's one of the reasons why we don't have that village, Brother Captain. So I encourage all men, let's get together. It's important. Not only this month of June, we should be talking about this issue, but we should, when we meet, we should eat, sit down and talk, play two domino, play some game, whatever it is, and not just sit down and talk. And we must have good conversation with it, meaningful. We're not having meaningful talk with one another. We're not asking, how is your wife? How is your son? Oh, my son is this and this. Is he in school? Is he doing well? What is it? We're not having meaningful conversation as men. We sit down and we talk about bull crap and play games, yes, but we need to go back and have meaningful talk and solve problems in our community. And that way we're not depending on our oppressors. Because as it is right now, we have to continue to, most of us are still depending on our oppressors to make things happen. Simple thing that we can solve. We don't have to depend on them. And this is the thing. And we don't talk. And if we talk, we apologize because, oh, somebody hurt. Come on now. We need to stand up and grow up as men and be men and live as men.
Man, sounds like we need some next level or higher level conscious conversations. We can't be just watching people, the celebrities, watching their lives, and then we need to get involved. Wonderful conversation. Love it, love it, love it. We also will be downloading or uploading this to our YouTube at Caribbean Diaspora Vibes, because as you know, lives on Facebook are being deleted after 30 days now. So we just want to let you know that we will also be saving this information. All right. God bless everyone. Thank you. Happy Men's Month. Happy Caribbean American Heritage Month. Bless up.
All right. Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Have a good one, everybody. Have a good night. On
Good
behalf
night.
of all of us here at CRR Network, we have come to the end of another broadcast. We want to thank all our panel discussion tonight, and we thank God for the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding that we give to each other tonight. God bless you. We'll catch you again next week at the same time.
Amen.
God bless everybody.
Amen.
Good talk. Good talk.